Improved survival of diabetic foot patients begins with increased awareness. 15% of people with diabetes mellitus would develop a diabetic foot ulcer at some point in their lives, and the lifetime risk may be as high as 25%. Mortality is also more than doubled in diabetic foot ulcer patients. The Diafoot project is a vitally important project. We aim to implement the new national guidelines for the inpatient management of acute diabetic foot problems. This will help deliver immediate and timely access to quality care provided by specialist teams.
The night before, I'd managed to leave my keys at home, and my wife was seeing a show in the West End with my daughter, so I had to go and chase them around to get the keys, otherwise I was sat on the doorstep till 11 o'clock at night, and basically walked about 2 miles in inappropriate footwear, and the thing flared up. So the next day I was at the doctor's, and he basically said, get yourself to hospital, get it sorted out. The ulcer had split the skin at the top of the foot. So when I was showering that morning, it was like, oh my lord, I didn't even know, because of the neuropathy, which is obviously another symptom of diabetes. So now, obviously, checking your feet every single day for signs of either, fungal infection or whatever, pressure sores, that sort of thing. You just got to get it sorted.
You never knew about charcoal foot until it actually happened. And that's what I was told about it. I mean, first they thought it was a tumour, but as the time progressed, then obviously it just collapsed and got worse.
I developed ulcers on the soles of my feet, and because of my reduced feeling in my feet, I wasn't aware of how serious it was becoming. As a result, it's now reached the state where it is very serious. My own attitude to things was a bit reprehensible. I was rather cavalier over what I eat and how I control the sugar levels.
Basically, people who suffer from diabetes and the complications need to have more information in the public domain. It would also save a tremendous burden on the NHS, I think, if people were aware and addressed the issue sooner.
I have a husband who's a diabetic, so I was aware of some of the complications of diabetes, like peripheral neuropathy, impaired wound healing, and the special need for podiatry care. But I wasn't aware about the increased risk of amputation, and also the much higher increased risk of mortality for amputations in diabetics. Quite often he's checked his foot and he's actually found that there's a small cut or there's a small abrasion, and he hasn't felt it at all. It's important for medical professionals to be aware that the patient won't necessarily know themselves that there's anything wrong with the foot, and to not just assume that the patient will tell them if there's any problem with the foot, and to actually check it themselves and check quite carefully, because the ulcers can form in quite unusual areas like between the toes as well.
I think at the moment there isn't much awareness of diabetic feet. Whilst we look at the sugars and everything very well, the feet is probably a bit neglected because they're hidden away. But it would just take a few moments just to glance at the feet, look at the toes, look carefully for any obvious ulcers, check the pulses and the sensation, and that would be it.
The Diafoot project is going to complement the current existing service for the management of the diabetic foot patients, with probably a significant improvement in outcome as far as these patients are concerned.